Hi Squiggler-mates, part 2 of 2 where the baiting in begins. Now what we're going to do is kind of collect this, make a divot in the middle, and make it up kind of high. Anything hard can be on the outsides. And we have our basket for baiting in. And pack this up around the sides. So this is baiting in. All of this material is where we want the worms to go down to. I'll keep this little corn cob in there. Okay, here's just a few. This is the material, and I'm gonna load this up, but this is just the first little bit, and I just took this off the top of the bin. This is the bin that has about over 2,000 adults in it. And see, okay, let's see how full we can get this basket. So it's not very wet at all, which is what we want so that they'll go downward where it is wet. Remember, no moderation, Jean. There's baby, a youngin'. Just do one. I could just leave this here overnight, and by tomorrow morning it'll be probably 80%, between 10 and 20 hours. Or you could combine methods and do some light harvesting while they're going downward. They're being baited down, so they're drawing down because of the bait and the moisture. Then they're being light harvested. They're not comfortable in the light. They're photosensitive. So we get to combine these different methods. I wish I had the baby bin out. These guys would go right into the baby bin. So we can take just a tiny bit from the top. And right now, just because this is so full, I'm gonna go ahead and hand harvest. See, you can even hand harvest. You can grab a few in your hand and harvest them. So I'm just gonna grab some more from the top. This is how you would light harvest. Just put it up in a tall pile and take the top of the pile off and let the worms go down because they don't want to be in the light. And sometimes if you walk away for 10 minutes and come back, instead of doing that, I'm just gonna grab the ones I see. I just want to get some of this top layer down because of course I filled it up pretty high. They are moving down into the material. I am light harvesting the top, and as I see worms, I just go ahead and add it to the bin. This is really being efficient, combining light harvesting with the bait in downward migration method to get it done quicker. And this compost is going back in the bin it came from. So we're starting the daughter bin is going to be having a whole new environment. And this will go back in to the bin with the remaining to finish this material. So if there are some worms or babies that get in here, it's fine. They're going to a bin that has plenty. We're just decreasing the population. So we're gonna change the density so that they'll want to continue hooking up and making babies and eating and keeping their size. So this is a way that if you have a bin that needs to be reduced because it's full, this is a great way. You could reduce it by half, more or less, whatever you want. It's also a great way, so if you need to sift out some castings, you need to do a small harvest, then you can do this bait-in method. You could even bait into an existing bin, so that you're basically, instead of baiting out, you're baiting in. You're depopulating the material. You have potting soil you need to mix up because you need to do a planting, but you really can't wait for the entire bin to be harvested or ready. You can do a small harvest. Small harvest only, shop bin. Just depopulate the material like this. When you do a harvest, it's time anyway for the worms to get some new bedding. So you have to do it anyway. So if sometimes, you know, energy is low or time is hard to come by, so you can do a little bit at a time. You could actually start a new bin, just add to it slowly so it will eventually become a regular sized bin, but it will be done at the pace that you can afford time or energy wise. So that's a small harvest. So I could take this material that's in here, because the worms are out of it, I can toss it and throw a piece of cardboard in between here and let it absorb the moisture. And you could totally like sift out some usable material and then throw the bigger pieces back in the working bin. And that is a great way to get a small harvest out of the way and reduce the size of a bin that might be too full without stressing out the little wormies. Yeah, so in the time that it takes me just to do a little bit of this light harvesting plus just a, you know, all of these methods between baiting them in, light harvesting, and plucking, I guess maybe would be the method, right? Plucking out the ones that are on top that aren't diving down and transferring them by hand. So this really, I mean, it's really taking no time, especially when you consider how much time it takes not only to set up a migration, let's say a horizontal migration, the time it takes to set it up. I mean, you have to add that in because you still have to set up a new bin anyway, so that's not extra time. You have to do that eventually. So if you get that started, then you can add to it. So this is like a multi-use technique, because you can get a harvest of worms this way, you could get a harvest of compost this way, you can depopulate the material more quickly and very comfortably for the worms. And you can do it in small amounts for time and energy if you're short on either of those. And you could do it more slowly if you wanted just to let this light harvest. So as much effort as you want to put in this for light harvesting, you can do. I don't mind standing here for a little bit getting a bunch done so I can fill this back up, but I could totally walk away. If you get the top layer up in like a mountain, a little mountain, they'll travel downward. And then I could come back, you know, when I'm walking by or whatever. If I had gloves on, it would make more sense. Probably. But just take a chunk off of the top layer whenever you walk by. For me, just putting gloves on and off or washing my hands again and again sounds like, you know, effort too. So this is how I'm managing my time and energy, just by doing it kind of all at once. Can I get it done? It's kind of cool because you can get it done like in less than 24 hours. And you don't have to keep resetting baits. So you can see them going down. So it's definitely much easier to dry out material to sift when the worms aren't in it. This is amazing. This is the most fun method. You can watch them going down. If I had this set up better, I could use 2 hands and this would go twice as fast. So I will be set up better for the next basket. Alright, that looks pretty good. So here's our material. It'll go back into the other bin. They will process this much more quickly since it's already almost done. So these are definitely just some little babies here. So this is absolutely amazing. I was gonna just let the rest go down while I went to get more, but I think that they're, other than some little babies, they're pretty much done. So it was that fast, guys. That fast. That is how quickly the baiting in method works, since we're combining it with light harvesting and plucking. The plucking method plus light harvesting. So that, you guys, is amazing. So there was probably about 1,000 words in there, and when I come back I'll let you know for sure. But look at that. They are all down. Is that just incredible? I think so. So we'll be back with more to fill this up.